Sean ustedes bienvenidos a esta primera rueda de prensa de las actividades del Degollado. El Festival Cultural de Mayo se siente muy honrado de tener a la compañía Dancenorth como la parte inaugural de las actividades en el Teatro Degollado. Esta es una compañía que nos tocó ver y concretamente conocer hace un poco más de un año, el año pasado, con motivo del Congreso de Artes Escénicas de Australia, que se celebra cada año. Y quedamos muy impresionados de la forma en la que el público va a conocer una visión muy actual de lo que es la fusión entre la cultura, digamos, de primeros habitantes con una fusión espectacular de lo que es la danza contemporánea. Y yo quiero felicitar y dar la bienvenida a Kyle Page, director artístico de Dancenorth, y la directora ejecutiva Hilary Coyne, con quienes hemos estado desarrollando y trabajando a lo largo de todos estos meses para llegar a muy buen término el día de mañana. Creo que van a disfrutar muchísimo la función, una cosa muy novedosa. Por supuesto que Australia arranca y nos dice pues esta tendencia hacia dónde van las cosas con esta puesta en escena de mañana de Attractor, en un estreno en Latinoamérica, de esta puesta en escena en donde ustedes van a ver todo lo que pasa. Se los dejo, no se lo pierdan, y quisiera pues dar la palabra a, I'd like to introduce you to Kyle Page. You might tell us about what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay.
Will you be translating?
No.
Okay. Hola. So my name is Kyle Page, and it's a true delight to be here in Guadalajara. Tomorrow night we will be opening Attractor, which is a contemporary dance performance that brings 4 of Australia's key cultural institutions, or 3 should I say, and 1 Indonesian band, Senyawa, together. So it's directed by Lucy Guerin from Lucy Guerin Inc., a company based in Melbourne, and Gideon Oberzanik, who is the founding director of Chunky Move, another company based in Melbourne, in collaboration with Dancenorth. And we are a contemporary dance company that has been in Townsville for the last 34 years. Townsville is a small city of 200,000 people on the edge of the Great Barrier Reef. So it's a beautiful coastal city in Queensland in northeast Australia. And the 4th collaborating partner is Senyawa, 2 extraordinary musicians from Indonesia. Gideon and Lucy have been working together on previous projects 3 times in their history as choreographers, and this work, Attractor, is their most recent collaborative piece. Gideon spent some time with Senyawa. Ruli and Wukir are the 2 performers' names. He spent some time with Senyawa in Indonesia, in East Java, visiting some very, very small remote towns. And his interest was to witness some ritualistic performance. So trance performance where people in the villages enter a trance. He spent a week going to 6 different locations, and finally they went to a 7th location, and Ruli, one of the musicians who is the vocalist, entered a trance, and they felt that this was the performance that they wanted to bring to Australia. So they invited this group of Indonesian performers to Australia. From there, Gideon had a very strong interest to explore ritual, performance and trance, and the idea for Attractor was born. So Attractor features 8 contemporary dancers from Dancenorth, and the last 20 minutes of the performance we invite 20 audience members from within the theatre to join the dancers on stage, and they are instructed live. So they have an in-ear piece, and they're instructed live by Amber Haynes, the Associate Artistic Director of Dancenorth, to perform with the ensemble, with the professional dancers from Dancenorth. So we end up having 30 people on stage, 2 musicians and 28 performers, creating a very virtuosic, very visceral, performative experience.
Yeah, I think, sí, creo que acaba de escribir Kyle perfectamente. Hay un tema que es maravilloso con Australia, este cuidado que tienen de este encuentro de culturas. Y yo creo que no va a ser la excepción, y creo que estamos arrancando el Festival Cultural de Mayo en la sección de las artes escénicas en el Degollado, precisamente con este encuentro de culturas, en donde vamos a tener esta convivencia con 20 elementos ajenos a la producción, y eso nos parece fascinante y nos parece de una delicadeza y de un impacto muy importante lo que los que asistan a las 2 funciones de Attractor van a poder sentir. Son 2 culturas. Hay que recordar que los artistas que vienen de Australia, muchos de ellos están viajando más de 15,000 kilómetros para estar aquí. Concretamente, en el caso de la compañía Dancenorth, vienen de una gira en donde la semana pasada se presentaron en Nueva York, en Maryland, Guadalajara y Orlando. O sea, en un periodo de 15 días, pues recorren 4 ciudades muy importantes, y nos da mucho gusto que no solamente nos permitan tener el estreno en Latinoamérica de Attractor, sino sé que el Festival Cultural de Mayo pues también sea parte de este circuito internacional de una gira de una compañía como es Dancenorth. Want to say something?
Well, firstly, apologies for not speaking Spanish. I have no Spanish. And thank you to Sergio, who is the reason why we're here. He came and saw the work in February last year in Brisbane, and I very clearly remember the meeting just after the show, and he said, I really want it for the festival. And with a whole heap of extraordinary work, we are here, and we welcome and search out opportunities for cultural exchange, and this is a quintessential cultural exchange. The work itself is a cultural exchange between the artists, the professional artists of Senyawa, and the professional dancers, and each space and place we tour to reaffirms that, because each and every work or each and every performance has its own unique quality, very much dependent on the audience, the city, and very much the participants who choose to join the work. And it just gives me absolute delight to see how participants in their anticipation or apprehension prior to the show have this incredible experience and are quite changed by it. So I'm thrilled to be involved. I wasn't working with the company at the time that it was made, but I'm very enamoured of it. I love the work deeply, so I hope you all get to see it. That's essentially it, really. Kyle has covered everything about the company. Being from a regional city in Australia is it provides an extraordinary opportunity to make the kind of work that we do, and we're very proud of that. And we're very proud and happy to be here.
¿Alguna pregunta? Yeah, she wants to know more about the external participants. You know, so you can talk about them more.
Yeah. So the participants arrive 1 hour before the performance, so they have no rehearsals. And quite often when people watch the performance at the end of the show, they say, wow, how many days did you spend with those participants? And we say, no, they arrive 1 hour before. They have a fitting, so they're fitted with their in-ear receivers. And then they have a very basic walk around the stage, and we explain, don't fall off here, this is stage right, this is stage left, these are the musicians and the dancers, so they have an introduction and they get to meet the performers that they'll be sharing the stage with. And then they all take a seat in the theatre, and they're seated all around the space, so widely kind of spread out in the seats. And then they have an instruction 20 minutes into the performance to one by one walk up to the stage. So it feels as though when you are watching, it feels as though this could be anyone in the audience. And we have had one experience where people with no in-ears have joined the performance in Brighton. So you never know. But the idea for us is that you have, as an audience member, because you see other people who are not professional dancers, they're wearing the same clothes as you, they're sitting in the theatre with you, you have a very deep empathic response. So you can imagine yourself being on stage as you're seeing these participants joining the professional dancers. So for us, it's interesting to break down the division between professional dancer and the participants or the audience members. And by the end of the performance, it's very hard to see who is a professional dancer and who is a participant, because everyone has a very beautiful way of entwining into the work and performing very collectively as a large ensemble of 28 performers.
Sí, este es un momento yo diría mágico, como estaba con Hillary, con Kyle. Cuando yo vi esto es como si estuvieran naciendo hongos, ¿no? Hongos que se incrustan de una manera muy natural en una ejecución profesional. Y me parece que arrancar con Dancenorth es precisamente el mensaje que yo creo que los más de 100 artistas australianos y por supuesto los más de 400 artistas en su totalidad que vienen al festival van a poder reafirmar pues estar en el Festival Cultural de Mayo que nos enorgullece poder presentar para el público de Jalisco y para el público de México y por supuesto de esta ciudad de Guadalajara, pues el estreno en Latinoamérica de Attractor. Este es un festival de estrenos a lo largo de todo el mes y bueno, pues creo que una muestra muy importante de lo que viene a lo largo del mes, pues es precisamente lo que vamos a ver mañana con Dancenorth. ¿Sí? ¿Alguna otra pregunta? That's a very good question. Yeah, he wants to know your first impression, even that Mexico and Australia aren't included in the usual tour circuits, So we are like two apart cultures, including ourselves in the international circuit. So how do you feel about being in Mexico, and about probably, talk about, the feeling of your similarity of cultures and all that.
I think for us it is true. This is the first time in 34 years that Dancenorth has toured to Mexico. So it's a great joy for us to be here, and all of the dancers spent the day yesterday falling in love with this city. So there's a very beautiful, rich history and culture and architecture, and the people here are so warm and generous. So it feels as though there's a kind of an affinity or something that we can connect to with the Australian culture. Dancenorth, as we mentioned, is based in a regional centre, so it's not in Sydney, it's not in Melbourne, so we can relate to that sentiment even more so because we very, very rarely have many opportunities to see other artists perform of the calibre of this show, so we're very fortunate. And I think, for me it makes all the more sense that we have this celebration of coming together. And Sergio's, it's a big dream, it's a very ambitious, it's a very visionary idea to have, to program and curate a festival celebrating Australian artists. And we were at the launch of the exhibition last night, and the list of Australian visual artists is truly, truly extraordinary. You would be lucky to find a list with that many exquisite artists from Australia in a big gallery in Australia. So it's very fortunate to have that work here, and quite an amazing privilege for us to be performing here to celebrate Australia, and hopefully we can create more ties and connections, and there can be more reciprocal exchange perhaps between Mexican artists and Australian artists, but also touring of work. I really think the kind of deepest level of connection is when artists begin to speak to one another. So who knows what can be born of an opportunity like this to spend a week in this city. And when Sergio comes to Australia to visit APAM and meet with artists and have conversations, I like the idea that this is just planting the seed and more things can continue to grow from this relationship. So this is the beginning of something that hopefully continues for a long time.
The only thing that I'll add to that very comprehensive comment from Kyle is that it's also really unique to have two regional Australian companies represented in a festival in Mexico, and such a sophisticated representation of Indigenous artists, which is also something that doesn't happen very often. So credit to the director, Sergio, for seeking out unique works and not obvious choices for a major festival like this. So thank you.
Agradezco muchísimo este comentario. Sí, efectivamente el Festival Cultural de Mayo nuevamente está programando cosas, digamos, de alto riesgo, cosas que no se han visto, cosas de punta, cosas que tienen que ver una con la otra. Tratamos de hacer una programación que sea una curaduría integral de lo que queremos representar del país y no digamos, una serie de, como bien lo decía Hilary, de cosas obvias que quizás nos harían tener más tranquilidad en la promoción, pero creo que nos apasiona eso de poder presentar lo que nadie ha visto, de poder mostrar hacia dónde vamos, de poderlo hacer en esta ciudad y de que los artistas locales tengan una muestra en su ciudad de hacia dónde van y de lo que están haciendo los artistas de punta, de qué es lo que están proponiendo en Nueva York, qué es lo que están proponiendo en Europa, de un continente totalmente aparte que es Oceanía, ¿no? Entonces realmente sí es una oportunidad, yo debo decirlo, cuando empezamos a curar este festival a finales de 2015, hubo momentos en donde yo decía, no vamos a lograrlo, quizás en 22 años nunca había tenido este sentimiento, y se acomodaron todas las estrellas para que esto se diera. Entonces los invito realmente a que no se pierdan Dancenorth y que cada vez que puedan tocar base en lo que vamos a presentar, lo hagan, porque en muchos casos va a ser muy difícil que vuelva a suceder, ¿no?
Yes, I can speak about the musicians first. So Ruli and Wakir. Wakir is the instrumentalist. He plays two instruments in the show. One is called bamboo, or bamboo Wakir, and it's an instrument that he has made. He's part of a collective of instrument makers, and it's a large circular piece of bamboo with many different strings and pieces of metal attached to it that he plucks and strums throughout the performance, and it's amplified. So it's a very unique sound, something that I've not heard before. And he has a second instrument called the spatula that is like a spatula for stirring rice, a very big piece of wood. And he has made this similar, the closest thing that we could imagine is a guitar. But again, it has pieces of metal bent on particular angles, so he plucks it and it makes a sound. It's got different strings, and with that he uses, sometimes he walks to the theatre and he'll find a stick and he uses the stick on the guitar or on the spatula, or he has like a battery or other found objects. So wherever we go, he likes to find things from that particular performance location or touring location, and he incorporates that into the music. Ruli is the vocalist, and he is not trained. So he's never had any formal training with his voice. He has a range that can touch very high kind of falsetto and very deep guttural sound. So he works with something that at times feels as though you're listening to something quite beautiful. At times it's quite haunting, or there's kind of death metal or very scratchy on the throat. So there's a very big range of sounds that he can offer the performance. lots of it is improvised, so there's a set structure to the music, but within that structure, they are constantly adding different sounds to keep it alive, which keeps it alive not only for them as musicians, but also for the performers and for the audience. The dancers, we're very lucky to have 8 extraordinary performers working for us and living in Townsville. None of them grew up in Townsville. So many of them have trained in New Zealand. There's a great training institution called the New Zealand School of Dance. Some from Perth, which is in Western Australia, at the West Australian Performing Arts Academy. One from Sydney, who trained in Sydney. So we've got a range of different performers who have trained in various tertiary training institutions across Australia. Some have worked in other companies before and had quite an extensive career, and some are very, very young and fresh from school. So fresh from graduating their course, they've joined Dancenorth as, I think when Mason joined, he was 20. So some young dancers. The oldest performer in the company is just about to turn 30. And for the training within the company, we train in a big variety of different physicalities. So we're not interested in having dancers who can only do one thing, as a ballet company would. They're very specifically trained in a technique or a skill. For us, the dancers work with yoga and Pilates and some breakdancing skills like hip hop, popping and locking. They obviously, most of them have trained in classical ballet as the foundation. We have many different technique classes in contemporary dance, so some using much more floor work, some that is much more upright and standing. So we like very versatile performers who can fulfill a range of different physicalities. And the physicality in this show, it's quite wild and abandoned, quite expressive and quite full-bodied movement. But at the core of that is a very strong technique for them to be able to enter these states of highly physical and virtuosic dancing, but with precision and with awareness of the other people on the stage, the dancers, but then also when they're joined by the 20 participants, they can be in these very wild states of expressive dance, but have a great sense of awareness through their technical capacity to know where they are in relation to everyone else on the stage.
Sí, yo quisiera abonar, I want to add about talking about live performances, you know. Quisiera abonar aquí una cosa que el maestro Kyle está abonando, que no hay que perder de vista. Estamos en la posibilidad de ver las cosas en vivo. En ocasiones se pierde esta perspectiva con todos los medios electrónicos que tenemos a la mano y como que podemos llegar a confundir un poco, ¿no? Estar viendo algún video o estar viendo algo que no se está haciendo en el acto. Yo creo que lo que está diciendo el maestro Kyle de poner todos estos elementos muy profesionales con una diversidad de técnicas muy, muy diversas, con la incorporación de elementos que tienen que ver y que están fuera de la producción. Esto todo en su conjunto nos va a dar el resultado de algo totalmente vivo, totalmente hecho para la noche, totalmente hecho para todos ellos que asistan, totalmente producido, toda esa energía de alguna manera va a ir direccionada de ida y vuelta. Yo creo que eso fue lo que a nosotros en los particular nos movió para que Dancenorth hiciera Attractor en el festival, alimentar y de alguna manera ponderar la importancia de lo que significa que los artistas estén haciendo eso en el momento para un resultado en el momento, en donde se trabaja años para poder realizar un concepto que se va a presentar en una hora y que solamente existe ese lapso para poder de alguna forma artísticamente hacer esta conexión que se pretende hacer tanto por parte de la compañía como nosotros como parte del festival, propiciar el momento para que este encuentro de cultura se dé de una forma totalmente instantánea, totalmente profesional ustedes lo van a ver, vamos, realmente los invito a que vean lo que va a suceder. Creo que va a ser un encuentro maravilloso de seres humanos, totalmente distantes, pero totalmente cercanos, ¿no?